Get ready for a dynamic episode of Features Talk, the one and only podcast made to bring the tech to the streets to shed light on how the new era of automation is changing the roles of drivers and passengers today. Lisa Bailey, the founder of FeaturesFirst Auto and co-host product specialist Luke Verseput, will discuss how today is no longer just about the art of keeping up with the trends. Safety is a priority. While one can appreciate the luxurious experience cars can provide, when it comes to interacting, connecting, and co-piloting with automated technology, full understanding is needed. Whether you are an early adopter, car enthusiast, parent, or concerned citizen, this is the podcast for you. You will gain deeper knowledge on the technology at work in your car that provides you a safer driving experience, gain insights on your role as a driver or passenger in the new era of automation, and hear actionable advice and solutions when you listen to Features Talk. Here's your host, Lisa Bailey.
Welcome to the Features Talk Podcast, the show that is empowering drivers in 2021 to drive safe and informed by bringing the tech to the streets and simplifying the information. I'm Lisa, the founder of FeaturesFirst, and today we are talking about current safety features, the stepping stones to self-driving cars with our very own beta collaborator, Luke. I am so excited to welcome Luke to the Features Talk podcast. He's here to provide expertise, answer some questions, and to obviously have some fun with me. So Luke, please introduce yourself to everyone.
Hey, yeah. So, like Lisa said, my name's Luke. I've been on this, the journey with FeaturesFirst pretty much since the beginning. So I actually, I'm a product specialist with Kia, and I work at Citrus Kia in Ontario. And my job actually as a product specialist is just car knowledge. My day to day is just showing cars to customers, explaining features, explaining what certain cars have and don't have. That's my thing. And I've had a big passion for cars for a long time. So getting to do something like this and kind of just spread that around it's the perfect confluence point of all those things that I'm interested in. So it's going to be cool. We're going to get into topics of, what are safety features that we have right now? Things that you can expect to see if you were going to go and buy a car today, the things that you would expect to see. And then also the upcoming features, kind of touching on that. Of like what will our current features lead to. There will be future episodes discussing more of what's in the future that hasn't come out yet. We're going to keep it a little closer to what is currently available and how that's going to get us to move forward as drivers of more high-tech vehicles. So we'll just kind of be covering stuff like that. So.
Well, thank you so much, Luke, for joining us. Like I've said, you are a guru. And when I purchased my vehicle and when you helped me just understand the features in my car, I'd never had that experience before. And so I'm so excited to have you a part of our team and to be able to share you with the world and the knowledge that you have. It's pretty amazing. And so like you said, we're going to be talking about these safety features that we have in our cars and thinking about like the stepping stones to self-driving and how we're getting there now. That takes us to our first question of what safety features can we really live without? I mean, I know as a driver myself, when I'm purchasing a vehicle and when I'm looking for a vehicle, I'm trying to decide, okay, what features do I need? Do I really need to pay for these? Do I not? I have children. And so coming from a product specialist yourself, with that question and thinking about this stepping stone, what would you say? What would be your answer to what safety features can we live without?
Well, when it comes to, safety features that you could live without, I think then it's kind of important to look at like what and more advanced safety features fall in the category of a potential lifesaver versus more of a luxury feature. There's still kind of a gray area on that right now. Since we kind of right now are in this gray area of cars that can take preventative measures by themselves, but are not yet fully self-driving. We're kind of in that in-between stage. Which is why when you go looking for a new car and you see what kind of features are available, especially as far as safety, it's kind of a gray area. And that's what comes to people's minds is what can I live without? It's important, I think, to keep in mind that there's no safety feature that's bad. There's no safety feature that's bad. There's none that will hold you back or make your drive less safe.
So basically, we can't live without any of the features.
Right, essentially. But as we answer this question, just know that more safety features is better.
Yeah.
And I would say the one of the features that we currently have that's actually becoming pretty, I don't say unanimous, but way more common on cars now is smart cruise control with automatic stop and go. This has been known about for years. Cars with smart cruise control where, you initiate your cruise control, let's say you're on the freeway or something, you initiate cruise control, and then, instead of just soldiering on at this one speed, regardless of anything else, like cruise control has done for decades past, smart cruise control has sensors in the front of the car that are always watching and reading the distance between you and the car in front of you. And it's taking a read on this like per millisecond. So it's always monitoring this distance. As traffic slows down in front of you, your car slows down without any pedaling, but you don't hit gas or brake, none of that. It's the cruise control regulates your speed automatically. A lot of people and car manufacturers classify that as a safety feature. And in a way, it could be.
Yeah.
If there's some driving inattentiveness or something, if you start to get drowsy or something when traffic slows down, the car will do that by itself. But I do think that in terms of overall safety features, that one still might fall within a luxury because there are other safety features we'll get into that really, could be life-saving. For example, automatic braking to prevent a collision from happening.
Yes.
And, safety features that can keep you in your lane, keep an eye on your blind spots.
Yep.
Things like that. So I don't think there's any safety features that we should live without.
Yeah.
But in the current state of things, I think if you had to skip on one, it would be smart cruise control. But I do think that for all the others, they should be pretty much must-haves, budget permitting.
Yeah. I know for myself, using cruise control wasn't something I always did, and I always saw it as a luxury. So the fact that they've added, the smart terminology in front of that to that automation that will stop it for you, I think is amazing, especially if you're drowsy at the wheel. That extra help will prevent a collision, but is it as important as automatic braking? No, in my opinion, as a driver. And if I had to look at a vehicle, which one had which, I would make sure that mine has automatic braking over smart cruise control. So I definitely can understand where you're coming from with that. But I do see the safety benefit to smart cruise control as well. Yeah.
And I think another important safety feature to mention there, and one that has become pretty common on cars, even relatively inexpensive cars, has been driver attention warning, where the car can actually monitor driver awareness and driver attentiveness. So it can actually detect drowsiness or low activity. And if you start to, then the car will kind of wake you up. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Drivers can relate to that. Drivers can relate to that. I mean, many of us are driving. We have children. We have other things going on in our lives. And at any moment, we could be tired. We could be drowsy. And so having that type of technology in your vehicle to assist you in that and give you an alert when you're not alert is amazing, because it's going to help other people around you. And I, for one, am appreciative of that, who has children in a vehicle. With someone driving behind me, in front of me, next to me, I would hope that they're alert. And if they're not alert, I hope they have some alert systems in their car.
If they're not alert, hopefully the car is alert. Right?
That's right. If you're not alert, the car needs to be alert.
Yeah. I've only ever been in two. I'm 29 years old, and I like most young men and women. I've been driving since I was, I got my license when I was like 18.
Yeah.
Like into high school. It's just pretty common. But I'm 29, and I've only been in 2 accidents in my life.
That's amazing.
And the first accident I was ever, and by the way, none were life threatening. None caused any harm to anyone. They were relatively small accidents, but still accidents. Yeah. First accident I ever got into was because of drowsy driving. I was on my way home from college, which I commuted to and from. And, I graduated from Cal State Fullerton, and I commuted to and from Fullerton every day from Ontario, where I live now. Not a huge number of miles, but a lot of traffic and a lot of sitting in the car. So that was, commuting to and from college for me, that was like a 25,000 mile a year, driving. My first accident was because I got a little drowsy, and then bang, hit the car in front of me. And it was in heavy traffic, so it wasn't fast. That was good. Yeah. I only hit going maybe 10 miles an hour, just in bumper to bumper traffic. But I did hit, and the vehicle I was driving, my first vehicle, was a 1989 Chevrolet Blazer.
Oh, wow.
I was
Chevrolet Blazer.
The S10 Blazer. I was born in 1992. Like I said, I'm 28. I'm going to be 29 actually in 18 days as of this shooting. My birthday is April 17th. So.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be 29 in a couple weeks here. So I essentially am 29 years old, but I was born in '92. My first car was older than me. I got it from my grandpa, and boy, we don't talk about a car with no safety features.
Yeah.
The '89 Blazer had, forget any advanced safety features. It had no anti-lock brakes. It had no airbags.
What?
Yeah, airbags were not mandatory on all vehicles when that car came out. The only safety feature that it had was an automatically locking seatbelt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was that.
Wow.
So yeah,
we have definitely come a long way when we're looking at safety. And I know that, as being a driver and seeing technology as it is progressing, even in the automotive industry, it causes pause with a lot of people because we're trying to understand exactly the purpose behind all of this technology, the costs behind it, and then our role. Like, what is our role as a driver? That's the whole point of Features First, is to prepare our community to be able to understand, okay, these are the changes that are coming down the pipeline in your experience as a driver. And it's changing and it's evolving, and technology is a big part of that. So let's be prepared so that we can drive safe and informed, not just for ourselves, but for everybody. Now, I do want to touch quickly on the other feature, the safety feature, the 360 surrounding view camera. I know that is, in my conversations with you, it is usually part of a higher trim level, which would, obviously require us as a driver to pay more money. But, what really safety benefits do you see coming from that feature for drivers as well?
Honestly, for a 360 surround view camera, I mean, as it currently stands, the bigger the vehicle you're driving, the more useful it is.
Yeah.
It's still a feature you basically never see on a car like a small car. I mean, like for your Kia Optima that you drive, you wouldn't find it on that car. Wouldn't find it on a Kia Forte. Honda Civic, any of these kind of smaller cars, but it's becoming a little more common on bigger SUVs. And 360 surround view camera still is one of those features that tends to be the purview of higher trims and therefore kind of higher price points. Like I said, like I said previously, features budget permitting. Yeah. So 360 surround view camera is still up there. And part of the reason for that is because that is a more expensive system to manufacture and implement in a car. Everything seems simple enough, when all you do is just put it in reverse or drive and suddenly there's like a drone footage of above your car, what it feels like.
Right.
But the software trickery in getting those images to match up, that's can be a hard thing to do, and it's more expensive to manufacture cars like that, which is why they tend to go on higher trims. And plus, it is still, money aside, it is still just in people's minds kind of seen as like this high tech next generation, like like, whoa, like the future is now, where I can see outside my car. Which I get it. It is cool, like the novelty of it. It's still there. I think that's a good word for it. Like the novelty is still in people's minds.
Yeah.
And so just like, at one point, like the novelty of, whoa, power steering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, I mean, it sounds silly now, but there was a time, right? There was a time.
Yeah.
Or the idea of an electric starter, that you didn't have to start your car by turning a crank on the outside.
Exactly.
So
it's evolution.
We are a time in technology now when, a 360 surround view camera there's still novelty around that, but that is going to just be a common thing. But currently that is one that's generally on higher trims. And I will say, to the point of answering the question we asked earlier, is what features could you quote unquote live without?
Yeah.
360 surround view camera is one that I think if the car is too up there in price, then you'd kind of have to live without it. And of course, you are going to have a rear camera. No matter what, let's make this clear, you are going to have a rear camera. As of 2018, any vehicle sold in the United States, as of March 2018, is federally mandated to have a backup camera. Yeah. So any vehicle you buy March 2018 or later is going to have a backup camera. You're fine there. So if the budget doesn't permit it, then I guess, you won't have one for now.
Yeah.
But if you can have a 360 surround view camera, I really think you should.
Yeah. And you said for those big body cars, now just for the listeners, when we're talking about higher trim or base trim, can you tell us what that means? That way the listeners know exactly what we're referencing when we're talking about trim.
When we talk about trim levels, when us two or anyone talks about trim levels in cars,
yeah,
what that's referring to is the same vehicle, but a different version of the vehicle. So different trim levels. Let's take one vehicle, like Lisa, your vehicle, a Kia Optima, which in your case is a Kia Optima hybrid.
Yep.
So, but for the hybrid aside, let's just say it's a Kia Optima, pretty standard car. You see them everywhere. There are different trim levels of that Kia Optima. It is the same Optima, but the different trim levels are going to mean differences in the features that you have, both safety and luxury focused.
Okay.
So by luxury focused features, I mean, it could be upgrading a cloth interior to a leather interior, or upgrading a manual seat where you pull a bar and slide yourself to a power adjustable seat where you just move a button and it goes. A bigger screen, a better sound system, or heated and cooled seats. Those are luxury focused things.
Yeah.
And those changes in features, and also, the addition of more advanced safety features, those are different. Those are what you find in higher trim levels.
Right.
So it's a way to get the same car, but tailored to how you want.
Yep. Just like you said, it's your version, right? Based on your budget and based on, what you're really looking for. And that's it brings it back to the conversation that we're having. What is it that I need? As drivers, as the world has changed, as we're all having safety focused, the world is pretty much going green everywhere. How can we reduce our carbon print? It's just super important to understand what to invest in when it comes to purchasing a vehicle, especially with technology in there. I would hate for you to pay 100% and only use 10% of your investment. I don't think anybody gives that type of advice. That's what it is. Yeah. And that kind of, leads into the next question, talking about what's something close to me is our elderly. And as they are driving and as the technologies there are safety features that are specifically benefiting the aging population when, sometimes their response level is a lot less or not as quicker as before. Maybe the vision is not as best. I know there are some safety features that are being developed for the aging and the elderly that I have seen some of the feedback, even from our beta team, on how they're enjoying it. It's pretty funny to hear them talk about the features and how, like the rear camera beeps at them and they're trying to figure out what's going on. But I know for all of the, people who are helping their elderly parents when it comes to shopping for cars or understanding how to use maybe their new car that they got, what would you say are some of those safety features that we were discussing before that are maybe geared towards the elderly or the aging population that would be valuable from a safety standpoint?
Yeah. So when it comes to elderly drivers, which I guess a good place to start is, elderly is just kind of a general term. We're not talking about a specific age. So
Correct.
given that the person does not have any underlying, physical conditions that would impair their driving, just to be undoable.
Right.
But like you said, for someone who's older, where the reaction time might be lower, the eyesight might not be as sharp, hearing, things like that. Some of the biggest features that I've noticed for those, it has to do with positioning of the vehicle. And I think you mentioned probably the biggest one are parking sensors, auditory parking sensors.
Exactly.
Doing that. So, but what I've noticed is almost always they ask about parking sensors, what you can hear.
Yeah.
Because when they're backing up or something, whether they use the camera or not, and actually it's funny, a lot of old people are not comfortable using backup cameras. They still look over their shoulders because they have a lifetime that they've gotten used to doing that.
Yes.
But what I've noticed is the parking sensor is really important because that beep is like someone calling their name.
Yes.
It just immediately stop what you're doing and pay attention to it.
Yep.
And so it's parking sensors that I've noticed really does that. But then as far as moving on the road, in normal driving situations, probably the biggest ones would be forward collision automatic braking.
Yeah.
To stop the car, to outright stop the car from hitting something.
Yep.
That and also lane keep assist.
Yeah.
Those two.
That's my favorite feature. I love lane keep assist because I'm the one that likes to, put my makeup on sometimes in the car, and and it really helps me when I'm, I might just be swerving a little bit there, and it just nudges me right back in line. So I, for one, appreciate lane keep assist, but I know that like you said, the auditory signal, the sound that comes with the safety features is something completely new for drivers. And I know that it helps our aging population because instead of feeling something, they hear something. It's immediate. And their attention is, oh, what's going on? It's alerting them and it's waking them up. And I one can definitely appreciate that. I know that some of our community members have talked about that, the auditory and how it's helped them, even with parking, knowing when to stop the vehicle when they're backing up too far and they're too close to that vehicle behind them trying to get out because maybe they can't see that well. Maybe they can't look over their shoulder. And so those auditory sounds are really well. And I think that understanding that as a driver or someone who's maybe helping someone that's aging purchase a vehicle, understanding those features and what they provide to that driver and being able to let them know that effectively so that they know what to experience. Because it's one thing to know what's going on, and then it's another when something startles you. Because there have been conversations about drivers being startled by the safety features because they didn't know what was going on. And it was just an experience for them that was not good. And so that's the whole purpose of Features First, is to get this information out to our community so that they are aware of what they can experience with these safety features and which ones they should even be concerned about or know about. And so I think for the aging population, a really cool statistic from AARP, 77% of drivers 50 and older will purchase their next vehicle with safety technology in it. And they have said that it makes them feel more comfortable behind the wheel. And I'm pretty sure that it does because it provides that safety mechanism, maybe where they're lacking, that technology makes up. And so I definitely think understanding. Now, what do you think about smart cruise control for the aging population? How do you think that provides any benefit to them?
That has been a mixed bag. And I will say this, I'm jumping 100% into personal experience on this one.
Yeah.
Just like from talking to folks at Kia who are looking for new cars, that can be a real hit or miss.
Yeah.
As far as whether or not it works, it works just fine, but whether or not they want it.
Yep.
So of course you'll get some older folks who just they don't know what it is. They never heard of it. And which then, I explained it to them. Here's what it does. But folks who come in knowing about it, boy, there seems to be two for like the aging population. There seems to be two camps on this. One, they love it and they are out to get it.
Really?
Because they know, like, or maybe, I don't know, maybe they had like a younger, maybe a kid of theirs or a kid in law or whatever, like my age, right? Who knows about this, just more comfortable with this stuff. And they tell them, like, oh, mom, dad, look, maybe their kid bought a car recently that has it. They're like, look, cruise control, like just having it do its thing. Some older folks are really into it. They'll want it. They'll ask, does it have smart cruise control? Does it do the thing where it speeds up and slows down? But the lion's share so far are folks who don't want it, who are creeped out by the car taking over that much. And that I think that is just a product of how many decades they have of cars being, a completely unintelligible piece of metal that is entirely up to them to decide what it does.
You're listening to Features Talk, shedding light on the new era of automation. To find out more, go to www.FeaturesFirstAuto.com. Now back to the show with your host, Lisa Bailey.
And let's talk about that a little bit, because that goes into the human behavior. That goes into, what you're talking about is what we have been used to doing as a driver. We get in the car, we turn the car on, we control everything. We are initiating whatever we want to happen. We are in control of that experience. And that is completely changing now. And I think that's one of the biggest changes for drivers is the human behavior, is the awareness that you are not the only person controlling this experience. There are other things at work for you. And it's for you. It's for your safety. It's to help you when you're not alert. It's to be alert when you're not alert. And we already know that distracted driving is probably the most cause for collisions. We've got, telephones, cell phones going on. We've got social media. We've got the dashboard.
I was going to say there's every bit of distraction you could ever need or want is so accessible now.
Exactly. And even while you're driving, I mean, we just think as humans that we can multitask. We honestly believe that we can go on our cell phones, send a text message, turn on the radio, turn on the AC, and drive and pay attention to the road at the same time. Although we may fool ourselves to think that we're doing that well, the collision rate, the data is proving to be different. It's proving that we're not as good as multitasking as we think we are. And that's the reason why these technology is stepping in for us and giving us some help on that.
It's easy to all the multitasking you mentioned is really easy to do when you're sitting at a desk and doing a homework assignment. And drinking and eating and on the phone with someone at the same time. It's not the same when you're doing all of those things going 50 or 60 miles an hour. So
Exactly. And a personal story for me, I am one to think sometimes that I can, text at a red light, we're at a red light. Okay, let me quickly pick my phone up and just, send something. But there have been times when I pushed the limit, and I kept sending that message or, let me just check this one more email as I'm easing off the brakes and didn't realize that I was just that close to hitting someone. And I had to have a conversation with myself like, okay, Lisa, we're not doing that anymore. You cannot multitask that way. You need to wait until this car is parked, until you, try to pull your brain in all these different directions. And I think that's the most important thing about the safety features is it's helping us in our distractedness. We're distracted people as driving. Even things that we don't think about, our emotions distract us. We could be having a bad day. We could have had an argument with someone, and we may not be as present as we are usually when we're driving, and that those emotions can take you away and be distracted.
Yeah, they can. Remember how I said I've only had 2 accidents in my life? The first one was drowsy driving. That was the second one.
Oh, really?
That was the second one.
Wow. Yeah. See,
there were unhappy sets of events happening in my life at the time, and that was the cause of the other one. And that second accident was the one that was the end of the old Blazer.
Wow. Yeah. See, our emotions definitely play a part when we're driving. And, like I said, the technology that they're putting in the vehicles, they serve many benefits. And although sometimes we don't want to admit that we are not the best at everything, the data proves it. The data proves that we are not good at distracted driving. Yeah. And it's dangerous to everybody. And so, and it helps the elderly as well. It helps the aging parents as well. What would you give some advice to someone who's helping look for the best car for an aging person? What would be some of your advice as a product specialist?
That is a frequent occurrence. Okay. That is I mean, like in my actual work, that is a frequent occurrence to have, older women, or even like parents, right? Or grandparents. Then they'll have, like a 20 or 21-year-old looking for, helping their, like grandparents in their 80s shop for what will probably be their last car.
Yeah.
And so you mean, advice to the person helping them look?
Yeah, because I think that happens commonly with a lot of people. And even like, as we're talking now, as the cars are changing, the elderly and the aging, they will rely on the younger ones to help them. Hey, what should I get? Or how do I work this? I think the person looking for it would need some help as well.
Yeah. So for them, I would say, know the person you're helping, which, I mean, if they're like family,
Yeah.
that should kind of go without saying. Like, of course they know them, but I mean, like, know their driving past.
Yes.
Like know their driving past. Know what kind of accidents have they been in, if any. Um, what kind of things, like what kind of things have kind of gotten to them when they drive.
Yep.
And so then, and I mean, obviously, underlying all of this is know what their budget is, right?
Exactly.
Right. But that aside, as far as the safety features, it's like know the person. Know, have they been earlier in their life susceptible to drowsy driving?
Yep.
Then make sure driver attention warning is in there. Do they still drive many miles? Most older people don't.
Yeah.
Most older people, especially if they did a lot of commuting earlier in life for their job, they have maybe don't do that. Older people generally don't drive as many miles, right? Just because most are retired, they don't have to drive for their job.
There's no need. Mm-hmm.
Right, but some people do. If they do drive many miles, especially freeway driving, then do whatever you can to make sure smart cruise control is in there, and then between the person helping them and then myself, the product specialist, have them be comfortable with the idea of actually utilizing that.
Exactly.
Which smart cruise control, by the way, also over a long trip can get you the best fuel economy.
Throwing some tips and tricks out there.
Yeah, because smart cruise control is changing your speed like in a very gradual manner, or we as imperfect humans have often very sudden braking and acceleration inputs, which is not efficient. Smart cruise control does help with efficiency, but especially for safety, if it's an older person driving a long time, driving many miles, maybe they still have a commute, that would be a good one. And then, it feels weird to say, make sure they have lane keep assist, make sure they have blind spot monitoring. Those two have become so common, it's almost hard to get a car without those.
Yeah.
Provided you're looking at new cars and not used.
Exactly.
But for an older person, I would say if you can get them warmed up to the idea of smart cruise control, that would be a really good one, because the obvious end game for older people driving would be a fully self-driving car where they could be 90 to 100 years old and unable to walk without a cane or a walker, and they could still get in a car and go somewhere.
That's right.
So a fully self-driving car, that would be the end game, like the best thing for an elderly person. In the meantime, we have smart cruise control.
Exactly. And that you touched on something really quick about the utilization and of the features. And I know that there are certain features that do require you to turn them on, and you can turn them off. I believe smart cruise control is a perfect example of that. The car doesn't, no car goes into cruise control unless you tell it to. Exactly. See, and so that kind of gets to my point of awareness, understanding the safety benefits that you are receiving when these features are turned on, and how you are actually putting yourself in harm's way when they are not activated. Do you have any interesting stories about finding out when someone maybe turned off the feature or didn't turn it on and it was detrimental, or didn't know it was there? Because I know for me, I know for me, when you gave me my product overview,
you can
I haven't turned them off since.
Right. You can keep going. I'll be thinking about if I have any. Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't turned mine off since. And I haven't done that because I know the safety benefits that I'm receiving from them. Is the beeping annoying sometimes? Of course it is. When the back camera, as soon as I put it in rear, if someone's driving past me and every single time somebody drives past me, it's beeping. That can be annoying, but at the same time, I don't want to turn these features off when they're providing a safety benefit. And that is what they're finding out in the data being collected with the collision rates, is these safety features are being underutilized. So we have drivers who are turning them off or not engaging with them at all, or they just don't even know that they're there. And so I think that it's super important to touch on that too, with utilization, on your responsibility as a driver. And I know we're going to talk a little bit later in a different episode about best practices, but just touching on like the responsibility of the driver when it comes to awareness and utilization of the safety features.
Yeah. I can't think of a time a customer said, I or a relative of mine, had their life saved by this safety feature. Or, well, actually, no, one time it did happen. There was a younger man. He was I mean, young. He was like, I don't want to say kid, but he was probably 23, 24.
Yeah.
And he got a Forte GT. If anyone hears me say Forte, I'm referring to the Kia Forte, which think of like Kia's, smaller car like a Honda Civic or a Toyota Corolla. That's Kia's compact sedan. So so he gets a Kia Forte GT, was one of the higher trim levels, and Fortes at their base level come with forward collision automatic braking. So this higher trim one, it had that, blind spot, essentially all the safety features. And he said that, and this Forte GT was actually had a manual transmission. And it's a manual transmission car, and it still had automatic braking.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yep. That's a thing. It's very few cars.
I was going to say there can't be many. There can't be too many.
The manual transmission, like 3 pedals, change their own gear by yourself.
Wow.
Those are quickly going down in popularity, and they are disappearing. But some people like myself, car enthusiasts, still love them. I would love to have a manual transmission car. But this young guy, he had 23, 24. His forward collision automatic braking just grinded this thing to a halt before he hit someone in front of him.
Wow.
And then guess what? About 2 or 3 seconds later, bang, car rammed right into the back of him.
Jeez.
So I wish I could say that nothing happened, but he ended up getting rear-ended because apparently someone behind him wasn't paying attention.
Exactly.
But his car with a manual transmission, it ground to a halt on the freeway because freeway traffic.
Yeah.
So traffic stopped because California freeways love that.
Yeah.
So traffic stopped, and this manual transmission car just automatically stopped itself. The engine stalled, right? Because if you stop a manual transmission without pushing the clutch in, it stalls. So here he is, just stalled on the freeway, but he didn't hit the car in front of him.
Yes.
And then a few seconds later, bang, car hits him in the back.
So we reduced one collision, but the other collision we couldn't reduce because that person and who's to say what features were in that car, if any, if any. Yeah.
I forget if he specified what kind of car hit him. Less relevant, obviously, but yeah. But his Forte, it stopped him, and I mean he made it out. And actually, I mean I think the important takeaway from this is that he made it out with no injuries, no anything. Like nothing happened to him. Yeah. Nothing happened to him because you're less likely to get injured from getting hit in the back than getting a direct hit in the front. So yes. So while it couldn't keep his car from getting hit in the back, that safety feature put him. It increased his chances of coming out okay.
Correct. And that's what they do. I haven't seen that they are saying, directly that the feature is going to save your life, but it reduces your ability to have a collision, which is essentially saving your life, or it can reduce the impact as well. So if you have smart cruise control and that car stops for you, you are essentially saving someone else's life that is in front of you. You don't know what's going to happen to that vehicle when you hit it. I've seen car accidents where, the hit was like the impact was not very high, but the damage, my goodness, the damage was like the whole car was totaled. And so it's like you never really know what the outcome is going to be. And so the whole point is to prevent it altogether. That's the whole point. Yeah. And so that's it. Back to what we're doing here is informing our community of these features and giving them an opportunity to become aware of what is going on in their vehicle and how they play a role. What is your participation as a driver in you utilizing these features? And maybe it may not be you actually enacting the feature, but knowing it's there can provide a level of safety for you when you're driving. Or even as a parent who is taking their teen to get their first car, knowing that teen has smart cruise control, knowing that teen has lane keep assist. These are extra things for teens who are highly distracted when driving. highly distracted when driving. These type of safety features will ease the minds of the parents, and it will ease the mind of the driver too. And so it's super important, especially in 2021 and moving forward, as technology is progressing and it is providing these safety benefits to us as a driver. It's also changing our role. It's also changing the way we interact, and our awareness has to be heightened. We have to be aware of what's going on. And so I feel like we haven't touched too much on pets and children. And so I kind of want to transition a little bit into that and talk about some of the safety features that are best for pets and children, especially, like I said, I'm a mom and I have a teenager and he will eventually be getting his driver's license. And I'm just taking notes. I'm upgrading my driver's education lesson to my son. Everything's getting an upgrade because I want to be able to make sure I'm empowered, because he's looking to me to help him. What would it look like if I get in the car and I don't know how 90% of the stuff works? How am I going to be able to help him? And so what would you say, like from your expertise, what some of the safety features that we've been talking about that would be geared towards pets and children? Not that they're the same thing, but for some people they are.
Right. I spoke to a couple weeks ago. There was a couple older, not elderly, but they're older. Maybe in their, 60s or so, maybe late 50s. And they said they have a car seat in the back of their, and they actually were looking at the Kia Telluride, the bigger three-row SUV. They were looking at the bigger Telluride, the three-row SUV, and they keep a car seat in their second row at all times for their cat.
Wow. For the cat?
Yes. Oh,
I've never heard of that. That's new.
just to kind of elaborate on what you said, for some people, they all wanted the same.
That's
this
right.
Is the case of that.
That's right.
So as far as pets, children, and I guess just in general, other passengers in the car, people who are not directly driving the car, it obviously goes without saying, things like automatic braking, lane keep assist, all these safety systems benefit anyone in the car. That's a given. But there are some features that we actually have not talked about yet that are geared purely, that are really focused on rear seat occupants, pets, children, whatever the case.
Yes.
One of them, the big one, is rear occupant alert. And it really is just what the feature says it is. It alerts you if there's anyone in the back.
Yep.
Obviously, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. Maybe you do, but the cases of like people leaving a pet or God forbid, a child in a car, they overheat, That's just, it's insane that would happen, but it has happened. Right. And so rear occupant alert is really, is aimed at that. Different vehicles.
Speaking of rear occupant alert, I wanted to speak on that really quickly. Is that I know that there are policies being formed around that to have that safety feature standard and required in all vehicles because of the data that has been collected on the amount of children that have been left in the back seat and have died because of overheating and exhaustion and all types of things that go on in a vehicle when you close the door and forget them. And I know, it's mind-boggling to try to even figure out, what is the mindset of someone who has forgotten that their child was in the back seat. But here we are with the conversation of distractedness. How many things are going on in our lives? I mean, I read a story where there was a mother, she was running late for work and she had to go to a meeting. She was trying to get her daughter to daycare and completely forgot that she had her daughter in the back seat, pulled up at her job and just had to hurry up and run into her meeting. And she forgot in that split second, because it was just so much going on. And having something like a child or a rear occupant alert is very much needed, because many of us forget things in the back seat when we're in the front seat. Groceries, anything could be left in the back seat. And children, pets, all types of things just off of life itself. And so I, for one, I know that they are, they have not voted and made that a standard as of yet. That's still going through all the legislative to be voted on. But I know for sure that they are looking to make that a standard in all vehicles because of the data that's been collected and the amount of children that have been left in and pets that have been left in vehicles and had to die because of that.
Mm-hmm. And with rear occupant alert, that's what it aims to mitigate.
Yeah.
Different cars do this differently. Some at a very basic level, the car will just, like, when you turn the car on, if the car detects that you ever opened the back door or the tailgate for any reason, even if no one's in the car, if you just open it, close it, that's it. Then when you turn off the car, it will give you a thing saying, "Hey, check your rear seats."
Yeah.
But it doesn't know if anyone actually got in. All it knows is you use the back door or the tailgate, so just check. But what's becoming more common, and this is now something that I know the Kia Telluride and Kia Sorento have, and I know others like Toyota Highlander, Honda Pilot, Ford Explorer, Ford Expedition. All these vehicles are doing this now. Is rear occupant alert with ultrasonic sensors. And again, they're placed differently. On the Kia Telluride, there are these three little things, like one's pointed this way and two others are pointed this way. Whoops. And at first they almost look like dome lights, but they're actually ultrasonic sensors. And if they detect movement or presence, like in the back, anywhere, then that's what sounds the alert. So that it actually keeps track in real time of who's back there.
Yeah.
The other thing that a lot of and actually Toyota's been really big on this is actually GM, General Motors for that matter. Think Chevy Tahoe, Chevrolet Suburban, Cadillac Escalade, these bigger SUVs from General Motors. What they do is, when you're the driver, you're there steering wheel, and you got usually screen in front of you. Most cars have screens in front of there now for the gauge cluster. It shows a diagram of like kind of a top-down view of the car. Not like a camera, but it shows a diagram of the car and all the seats.
Wow.
And it indicates which ones have buckled seatbelts.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so that's not so much rear occupant alert as it is like if you have kids in the back and you're about to drive away and your three kids are in the back, you can look and see which seatbelts are buckled.
Wow. That provides multiple safety benefits, actually. If you think about that, because if you're back there and you didn't put that seatbelt on, I can see that you don't have your seatbelt on.
Yeah. And so if you just ask, "Hey, does anyone have their seatbelt on back there?" They could tell you yes, but no, maybe they're just playing a trick on mommy. Right? But no, if you look there, you can see Toyota does this. I know General Motors does this. There's a diagram there and it shows like a kind of like a wireframe, like an outline of the car, but it shows in detail which seatbelts are there. And whether there's like a red X, there's a red X if they're unbuckled, and there's a green check mark if they are buckled.
Wow.
And what some cars do is they actually will, they'll only give you alerts on that based on which seats have someone in them. So this is actually something on the Cadillac Escalade, which I should preface this by saying that the 2021 Cadillac Escalade starts at about $90,000. So this, and when well optioned, you can easily push this thing to $110,000. So this is not a budgetary vehicle that most people will be able to buy, but it is a good indication. And a lot of these high dollar cars that are like, "Oh, it's not relevant to me, it's only for the 1%. Well, power steering used to only be for the 1%.
That's right.
An electronic starter used to be for the 1%. This technology will make it down to everything. What the new Cadillac Escalade does is every seat in the vehicle, and this thing seats 9, by the way.
Wow.
Or if you option it, it can seat 9 people. Every single seat, even back to its third row, they have like sensors in the seats themselves, in both the butt of the seat and the back, like where your back goes right here.
Yeah.
And it senses who's there. So if no one's sitting there, it won't give you the seatbelt alert. But if someone is sitting there, then it lets you know there is someone sitting here, the seatbelt's not buckled.
Yep.
And I've seen this demoed on videos. If you're driving, and obviously this is done by adults on a controlled street with no traffic or anything.
Right.
If you're driving along and you have a passenger back there or even in the front seat, if someone's sitting there and the belt is buckled, and while you're driving, if the seatbelt becomes unbuckled, this alarm loses its mind.
Wow.
And it's so you hear it, you see it, it flashes this big warning there, like the car's in motion, it's in drive, and someone's seatbelt just came undone.
Wow.
So this alarm just goes nuts. If one of your kids is playing around and they unbuckle a seatbelt, then bang, this alarm have. It's not like a fire alarm, like it hurts your ears, but like the car
It'll
really
start.
lets
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you said that because I was listening to you as you talked about the progression of that. Because when you first started talking, you said they started first with, if you open the back door, then it will alert you. But you can see the progression of how it is becoming, the technology is becoming more enhanced. They're becoming more specific, and they're being able to drill down on certain behaviors. So now it's whose seatbelt is unbuckled. So, or did someone buckle their seatbelt? So they're getting more precise in the technology. And it's just like you said, although it's a part of a higher trim, although it's a part of, the 1%, these technologies are being tested by the 1% so that they can trickle down to everyone else, because the safety benefits is not just for the 1% or the people who have the money to afford the higher trim. The safety benefit is for everyone. And so that's why right now I know for sure that the government is working with the automotive industry and the technology innovators on developing policies around these safety features and which should be standard in vehicles, who's paying for these safety features. I mean, if you think about, where we're headed now, if you live in California, after 2030, they won't be selling any gas emission vehicles. And that means we're headed to an electric vehicle lifestyle. And we'll talk about that in a different episode as well on the rise of EVs, but it requires just a completely different level of awareness, going from, deciding when I'm going to pump my gas to when I'm going to charge my car. That's completely different lifestyle and requirements that will be required of you as the driver, and your level of awareness of how your life will change is super important. And I'm really excited to get into that episode about the EVs. But if you think about that, we're headed that way. And whether we like it or not, we are going to have to interact with these technologies. We will have to invest in them. And it's for the betterment of everybody driving on the road and the environment as well.
Yeah, and one of the other things that stood out to me, and I just kind of one more thing to mention on the features focused on children and pets.
Yes.
Before we move on to the next thing, is just because I think this is actually really important, and this will be more of a thing when electric vehicles become unanimous. Like Lisa said, we have a whole episode on EVs, and probably multiple episodes on EVs coming up. We'll get into that later for you guys. But Lisa and I were talking about this a little bit ago. One of my all-time favorite features in any current car is it's a mode called dog mode that Teslas have. So and I'm serious. This is a real thing. You can find any number of videos on YouTube demoing this. It's called dog mode. And it's only found on Teslas. Now, obviously, Teslas are all electric vehicles.
Yes.
I'll explain how this works, and you'll see that this kind of has to be done with an all electric vehicle.
Yes.
But what it does is, like Lisa said, there's, the issue of children and pets being, left in cars and then, dying or of heat stroke or something. It's just like, it's asinine, but it does happen. So, and of course, one of those things is, dogs getting left in cars. And so Tesla has this thing, and it's currently in the Model 3, and I'm sure via software it was put into the Model S and X, and sure Model Y as well. And basically Tesla's whole lineup. But it debuted on the Model 3, and what you do is you put the car in dog mode, and let's say you go to the grocery store or something, you have your dog with you. Most public places don't allow dogs in or animals that are not certified service animals.
Right.
Maybe you were going to take your dog to the groomer, but you had to stop at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Any of that kind of stuff could happen. So you leave your car in your Tesla in dog mode. You park it, lock it, go inside the store. When you leave it in dog mode, the car's air conditioning stays operational, like fully operational, keeps blowing cold and everything, provided it's a hot day. Now, if it's cold day, it's the heater. Basically, the car keeps itself at an interior ambient temperature of whatever you set it, and you can choose the temperature.
Oh, that's amazing.
It gives you a kind of a short range of temperatures to choose from.
Yeah.
So that you can't choose to have your interior of your car be cold
Right.
or really hot, that would just be bad for the dog.
Right.
But it gives you this small range of temperatures and that you can choose from. By default, I think it sets itself to like 70 or something.
Yeah.
It's 70 or 71 degrees, but you set it there, and because it's an all-electric car that doesn't need to run an engine or an air compressor, it keeps the air conditioner going. And on the screen, anyone who has seen anything about Teslas knows that the center screens of Teslas are huge.
Yep.
Where your infotainment stuff is.
Oh, yes.
It's huge screens in there. So in California, I don't know about other states, but in California, if it's a hot day or something, if you see a dog locked in a car that looks like it's in distress, you can legally break the window of someone else's car to get the dog out of there, and the person who owns the car can't press charges against you because of animal endangerment.
Wow.
So they might say to the cops, "Oh, they broke my car window." Well, too bad, they were endangering an animal, and it was your responsibility to get the animal out. Well, if you look inside a Tesla that's in dog mode, it shows on the screen like this little cartoonish like picture of a dog, like just kind of relaxing. And it says, the interior temperature is 70 or whatever. My owner will be back soon. Everything is fine.
Wow.
And it says this. It actually says that on the screen. So people looking in will see that on the screen. And so the car manages the temperature so the dog never feels uncomfortable.
Wow. That right there, first of all, yay to Tesla for that. Because I mean, don't break the Tesla window. It's no telling what kind of technology is in the window and how much that's going to cost. But from the standpoint of what you're saying, I feel like they thought about a couple of things. They thought about the person on the outside looking in, right? So they thought about that aspect, but they thought about the dog or the child or whatever. But thinking about EVs, you're absolutely right. That is something that will have to be in mainly all electric vehicles.
Yeah.
That thinking.
Yeah. And just to be clear, I know I bring up Tesla's dog mode, which, like I said, is a real thing. That's a real feature that shows on the screen what the temperature is for a person outside looking in to show that the dog is okay. To be clear, I do not think that dog mode should be used for a child.
No, you don't. You definitely don't want to do that. But I know Tesla, do they have the rear occupant alerts just like the other vehicles as well?
I don't know that the Model 3 or Model S does, because those are smaller cars. I mean, they should, obviously, but I'm pretty sure the Model X, which is their bigger SUV, I'm pretty sure that does.
Okay.
I mean, basically because it's Tesla, I can't imagine they wouldn't.
Exactly. Yeah. And in California, pets are big. So I can see us Californians definitely talking about that a little bit more on the dog mode and moving forward in EVs and how we can keep our pets safe. Because we're always traveling with our pets in the cars. I'm originally from Chicago, so I don't see many. I can't say that the animal culture lover is I grew up seeing that more than I saw in California. It's a big thing out here, and pets are family. And so we have to protect them just as much as we have to protect our children. So like I said, kudos to Tesla for doing that. And I'll definitely be just paying attention as we head to EVs, how they address that with the dogs being in the vehicles. Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, that I think we covered, some really good features today for the elderly. We talked about the stepping stones and the features that we need as drivers. Which ones can we live without? Which really it's not necessarily a living without thing. It's more of a luxury. Is, from our conversations that we talked about earlier, and then touching on the pets and the children. And I think it's super important. I would say, what's one piece of advice that you can give our community today when we're specifically talking about the driver's role in best practices as we are moving forward and technology is progressing? Just like one piece of best advice that you can give the community today as a best practice as a driver in 2021.
Yeah. So specifically like in 2021, 22, moving forward
and beyond. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So more to the point of where we are right now. one thing to keep in mind, and this will be touched on in another episode in more detail, but just keep in mind there is currently no safety feature that allows you to stop being a good driver.
Right.
There's no current safety feature that makes it, okay for you to just be unattended of what's going on when you're driving. A lot of people say that, Tesla's autopilot is like the best self-driving feature, or like the best, I say feature. What Tesla calls autopilot is just their fancy marketing term for a collection of safety features, many of which we just talked about.
Yes.
That when all working together provide a quote unquote self-driving car. The combination of smart cruise control, lane keep assist, blind spot, all that stuff. It's the car monitoring all that stuff.
Right.
And so a lot of people say Tesla's autopilot is, the best like self-driving technology. It is not. It is second place. Not a lot of people know this, but currently the most advanced self-driving technology that you can just buy as a normal consumer actually comes from Cadillac.
Really?
Yes. Cadillac's system of self-driving is called Super Cruise. And Super Cruise has, we can go into more detail about this later on, but basically Super Cruise has some advancements actually over Tesla, despite Cadillac's, vehicles still being like regular gas engine cars.
Yes.
They can still actually do more advanced self-driving than Tesla can.
Wow.
Although I should clarify, Tesla's not far behind.
Yeah.
But whether it's Tesla Autopilot, Cadillac Super Cruise, the only reason I bring that up is because if you look at Super Cruise, and I can talk more about Super Cruise in detail later on, but it's quite impressive. It's the kind of thing that makes me go. It's the kind of thing that makes you start going, ooh.
Yeah.
We're kind of leaving the science fiction stage on this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no matter, despite that, there's no current safety feature that allows you to stop being attentive and just stop being a good driver.
Yep.
There's a reason there's federal legislation around how much a car can control itself before a human driver must intervene.
Yep.
So yeah, there's
I love what you said.
As far as best practices, you still have to be a good driver. You still have to be attentive. You still have to know what you're doing. Please don't leave any living thing in your car, for goodness sake.
Yes.
And another thing I would say, so that's when it's driving yourself. There's no fully self-driving car yet. Yes, it's getting better, but there's no self-driving car yet.
Yes.
Now, best practices looking for a new car, that will of course depend on what kind of vehicle specifically you're looking for.
Right.
But given that most people are looking for a practical day-to-day, get around kind of vehicle.
Right.
But aside from the very niches of heavy-duty off-roaders, work trucks, and high performance sports cars and supercars. What we can touch on those niches later, because there are changes coming to all of those as well. But for the kind of vehicles that most people drive, it kind of goes back to what we started at. More safety features is better. The more you can have, the better, because it is going to future-proof your car. Your car will stay up to date longer.
Yes.
With features like that. And it is going to make you and your occupants safer. So as far as best practices, that's what I would say for those.
And I love that you hit on that, because I think I know just from research, the myth that comes from there are fully self-driving vehicles that you can purchase, which is completely false. We are not there yet. There is much improvement that needs to happen in the technology on many levels: cybersecurity, connectivity, infrastructure, all of those things that require, the thought leaders in the industries and in our government as well working together. But at the end of the day, you are still required as a driver to be aware of what you are doing and your participation in the safety of yourself, your passengers, and others on the road. And you're part of your level of awareness as a driver, as we're talking about in 2021 and beyond, is understanding these safety features, understanding what is in your vehicle, how is it operating. And because some of these safety features right now are not standard, they are part of higher trims, lower trims, base trim, mid trim. And so some of that decision is left on you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't understand the level of safety that you are providing yourself by investing in this technology, you won't invest in it. And so that's the whole point of Features First and building this community of smart drivers is we are going to be prepared for these changes. We are going to do our due diligence as drivers and just kind of upgrade ourselves a little bit and let's become smart drivers. The smart word is being thrown around everywhere right now. You got smartphones, smart homes, but we need to be smart drivers. And part of that is raising our level of awareness and joining communities like Features First that want you to be prepared, want you to be empowered. And we're bringing the thought leaders to you so that you can ask those questions that maybe you have not been able to ask and get the answers to make the best informed decisions. And that leads us to me talking about our community event that we have this year, our beta collaboration event. Yay! That is going virtual on September 14th. We've had our previous beta collaborations events and they've been very small and focused. Luke, you've been at all of them, I believe. And I know that we have been able to have your testimonial out there on how you felt about attending those. But now more than ever, it is important that us as drivers become smart drivers and become a part of a community that is making sure that you're informed and empowered in this year and moving forward. And that we are partnering with the thought leaders and bringing them to you to simplify the information. We're here to simplify the information so that you can understand. And so we have our event on September 14th, and it's going to be virtual. So we are encouraging all of our listeners to please join the community. You can visit us at FeaturesFirstAuto.com and become a community member. It is no cost to you to become a community member right now. And you have access to staying informed on the technology, just not in the luxury technologies, but the ones that are saving your lives. The ones that are saving your passengers' lives and saving children as well, and staying abreast as to what's going on and raising your level of awareness as to your role. How is your role changing as a driver? And so I'm so excited to be having our event this year. We're going to be talking about three major things. We're bringing together the conversation about education and deep learning. How do we need to learn these technologies? And cybersecurity, when you're talking about connected vehicles, how is my data going to be safe? How is my data going to be secured? How do I know that my information won't be hacked? I mean, we're plugging our cell phones into vehicles and we're not understanding that we're sharing data. And it's for the better. We're obviously putting our hooking our phones up to the car. It's helping us with our GPS, and it's streamlining the whole driving experience. But there is a connectivity to that, and there is a sharing of data. And so I believe as drivers, we need to know the cybersecurity limits that are being met and what are the standards that are being created for that, as well as bringing together the engineers who are actually creating this technology. We have an autonomous engineer coming and speaking about the different innovations that are coming and measuring stress while you're driving. These are things that are coming down the pipeline, and they're creating a more human approach in the vehicle with the technology. And so you don't want to miss this event. It's going to be virtual. It is going to be open to our community. So please make sure you join the community. Make sure you visit us at FeaturesFirstAuto.com. Like I said, it is no fee to become a member. We want to make sure that you are empowered and to drive safe and informed for yourself, for your passengers and others. And so I am so happy to have had Luke here today on our first release of our podcast. And we want to say a happy early birthday to you. Enjoy your birthday. Do you have any special plans? Maybe getting one of those cars that's behind you on your screen.
I'm pulling up my calendar to see when the 17th is. Actually big plans for April 17th. I'm going to be at work all day.
Oh, you'll be helping people.
That's true. Well, 17th lands on a Saturday. My work week is Friday through Tuesday. So My days off are Wednesday and Thursday. So.
Oh my goodness. Well, you're going to have to make sure that you enjoy your special day because we so appreciate you being part of our team and what you're doing for the community. We want to say thank you for all of your knowledge and lending your time today to share and answer questions. And so we're collecting questions from our listeners as well. If you would like to submit a question that you would like Luke to answer, you can send that question to info@FeaturesFirstAuto.com. That is info@FeaturesFirstAuto.com. If there's a specific question that you would love our car guru, product specialist, Luke, to answer, you can definitely submit those and we will definitely touch on those on the end of our podcast. And so once again, thank you guys so much for listening. And we will see you again at our next episode of Features Talk Podcast.
Yep.
Bye.
Drive safe.
Thanks for listening. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Features First Auto and online at www.FeaturesFirstAuto.com to join the community and empower yourself to drive and ride safely and informed. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, drive safe.